It's time, everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is CWC 2021. Once again, we're going to kick off the weekend with a bit of Suity Fruity action, meaning we have some nice shirts, we have a bit of a suit going on. I'm here, joined by Quinten, our Belgian friend. How are you doing, Quinten?
Thank you for the proper introduction, Conrad. I'm doing fine. What about yourself?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good.
I decided to go for a different type of suit this time. Not even any sort of tie, but I'm feeling good. And you're looking great as well, Quinten.
Thank you very much. I was about to say the same about you.
You're such a cutie. You're looking absolutely marvelous. And so is everybody else in chat. Thank you guys for joining this recap. We're going to recap the round of 16 that happened last week. We're going to talk you guys through the matches, and after that, we're going to go over to some predictions for what will happen this weekend in the quarterfinal matches, and which teams we believe will win, which teams will have to leave the tournament. In our opinion, that is. We're going to see all of that action this week, and we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. But first, we're going to get started with those matches from the round of 16. We're going to go over them in order of the bracket, so not in chronological order, so just so you know that. And that means that we're going to have to start off and talk about Hong Kong versus Poland. Also, big shout out to Quinten for making a few notes on this one. So we have notes to talk about this time. So this was a 6-0 score. Kind of the blowout. I did not really expect 0 points to come out of Poland. Kind of a surprise to me. Hong Kong is obviously really strong though. I obviously did predict Hong Kong to win this over Poland, but I'm pretty sure I at least granted Poland like 2, maybe even 3 points in my prediction. I can't remember exactly, but not 0 in any case. And in that breath, something that I see in the notes is that Hong Kong had like 8 misses in total throughout the entire game, which is absolutely incredible. There's some really good players in Hong Kong for early stage maps. We've already seen that in group stage where a lot of these Hong Kong players were in the top 10 classification in terms of how well the players did on the maps in respect to the other players. And I mean, Hong Kong might be one of these top contenders this year. Quinten was one of those guys who called Hong Kong like a top 3 contender like last year already. They might really be it this year though, Quinten, am I right?
Yeah, I remember as well talking to you about like a couple of months ago, and I told you guys I feel like Hong Kong is being underestimated. And it's been showing, right? This is a 6-0 scoreline. I feel like it's not really fair to Poland because they play really, really well. But this Hong Kong team is looking absolutely amazing this year. There were 18 plays in total, right? 6 maps, 3 players. And out of those 18 plays, there were 15 full combos. And one of those misses was on the very last node as well. So there were 8 misses spread out over 3 maps and then 15 full combos. So there's not a lot you can do if you're Poland. And it came down to singular misses every single time. Poland, I believe, was the 4th best team out of every single team in this quarterfinal. But Hong Kong was just stopping the leaderboard with like a 2% score advance over South Korea as well. Really looking strong this year. We didn't see Novoids or Sakanas this weekend, and I'm assuming we're not going to be seeing those two a lot the upcoming weekends as well, because the 4 other players have everything covered, it seems like. There's no weaknesses to be spotted on this Hong Kong team, so it was really, really tough match for Poland. And once again, every single year it's the same narrative. Poland getting out of the group stage and then facing off against some huge powerhouse. And mostly it was China or South Korea, but this year it was just Hong Kong, and this Hong Kong team is definitely in the run for a top 3 finish, I do believe.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll play as well on the later map pools as they do in this one, these ones in the early stages. It's always been one of those cases where Hong Kong, I felt like would be maybe the very strongest team in like the super early stages of the tournament, then slowly degrade in terms of quality towards the end of the tournament. Truly, that might not really be the case anymore, considering how well these players have gotten at like super high-end stuff as well. So really looking forward to seeing that. But we can't really call that at the moment due to the fact we don't know the map pools of the future. We can't look into the future quite as a commentator, which would have been a lovely ability. But super strong team this year. Poland not doing bad at all. So the 6-0 scoreline, that would not have happened for Poland in like any other scenario, I do believe. I think that having to face off Hong Kong this early on is just a big burden to any sort of team. So that's really unfortunate for them. but they're not out of the tournament. Again, round of 16 means that all the teams that participate in that round will still be in the quarterfinals. It just means that some of the teams will be in the winners bracket, having an easier time to go towards like the very late stage of the tournament, and others will be in the losers bracket, meaning that one loss will mean elimination of for the tournament. So they're still in it, and there's still an opportunity for them to come back. It's just really unfortunate to lose like this 6-0 very early on, which only happened one other time in this round, I'm pretty sure, which was a predictable outcome too. Whereas this one, I felt like Hong Kong absolutely outdid even themselves, and Poland was strong as always, but just not really strong enough at all to take on the monstrous Hong Kong. So well played by both teams, but damn, Hong Kong, absolutely amazing. Very well done.
Definitely. I have two concerns, honestly, one for each team. Hong Kong, definitely their scaling, which you already elaborated on. I feel like they're super strong in these early matches, but then going on further into the tournament, AR9 DT and all that kind of fast stuff coming up, I'm quite sure AFB can't really play it. So then we have to look at like Auto LS, Latifa Sama, and Suity Kyoka. I'm not too certain who those three can manage. I feel like the three of them are really strong, but then again, scaling on this team might not be as high as a couple of other teams in this round of 16. On the other side, Poland, once again, that loser bracket right off the get-go, and we've seen in previous years, there's a couple of players that just do not want to play in that loser bracket, and they do not show up, and then Poland just lose in that loser bracket because they only have half a team. Really hoping that this weekend this is not going to be the case, that we can see the entire Polish team see their full potential, because they once again have a huge task ahead of them, because they're facing off Italy in the next round, whilst Hong Kong has their very first what called challenge test to see where they're currently at, facing off China, which is also one huge powerhouse. So really tough match for both teams coming up in the upcoming weekends. I'm not too sure if you have anything to add to that, Conrad.
No, you're absolutely right on that. It's always been the case for Poland to like get some of the worst opponents in round of 16, even though they always perform quite well in group stage. They didn't finish as like the first seed this year because Russia did in their group, so they were forced to play against a strong opponent anyway. But this time around, also having to face Italy in the loser bracket, which we're going to be talking about China, Italy after this one. Good luck to them, basically, is what I'm wishing, because the China-Italy match was something else as well. Which is, yeah, let's just get into that one right now. 6-3 scoreline for China-Italy. For some reason, I keep saying China, but it's China. China versus Italy. Yeah, this was somewhat predictable, I would say, but I know that there's still a lot of supporters for Italy that believe Italy to be like a contender for first place in this tournament, which might be possible, but it's still they still remain somewhat weak due to them having Arm and Karen, which are really good players for Hard Rock and Double Time, but then having to fill out Hidden, you know, not being quite on the same level as some of the other top-seeded teams. That's mostly what leads to their downfall, and especially against a team like China, where there's players who can also play Double Time and Hard Rock like incredibly well. The scoreline then favors China in the end with a 6-3 scoreline, because throughout the entire match they had to like fight an uphill battle, and at a certain point they broke. I think it was like a 4-3 scorelines when they just lost the last two maps without any sort of chance of trying to grab the score back. And solid performance for everybody, but China also, just like Hong Kong, one of the super strong teams you don't want to see anywhere in the tournament, but especially not in the early stages.
Yeah, definitely. Italy coming in 4th place, I believe, last year. A really strong performance from them last year, but they had the advantage, you could say, of playing against relatively easier opponents, getting to that semi-final winner bracket, then losing one time, winning one more time, losing another time. So that's a way easier way of getting into that top 4, whilst now they're in that loser bracket. They have to keep on winning. There's not a single time they can lose, even though there's some really strong teams that are still in that winner bracket that can drop down to face Italy, such as Poland this weekend. So they're looking at a really tough task this year. Their team is relatively strong. I feel like the addition of Sir Waffle is definitely going to give them more scaling on Nomad. Vito can play hard work. Double time, I feel like a third player on difficult double time is still somewhat lacking. Their hidden has improved as well compared to last year. Last year, we all knew as soon as Italy was playing a match, they're going to lose at least 2 points on hidden. It's probably going to be the case this year as well, but they're putting up more of a fight, as I believe. Arm and Kerem have practiced some high AR hidden. Low AR hidden is always going to be off the table for Italy. Everyone knows that. And again, I feel like this Italian team has grown a lot in strength, but so has any other top and high seed team mostly, and that is kind of putting them at a worse spot than last year, I do believe. At China, on the other hand, confident victory, I do reckon, especially having 2 newer players like Kovir and Sianis playing this year instead of Nagi and Kalyanet, definitely showing up, and especially, once again, Dusk super strong. I believe he MVP'd every single map in that match, except one where he got outspun by his teammates Crystal. So he's still full combo, but he just got outspun.
I think he only didn't full combo one map too. I think that was the gimmick too. You have seen like every single map but one, and he MVP'd all of those as well. So I've been saying this for I think 4 years, but Dusk is still like the strongest tournament player that there is. When he's warmed up, he's absolutely the best. It's showing again. Italy not really having an answer for that, even though they were really strong too. And yeah, they are going to play Poland this round, which we're going to get into. But it's again a very unfortunate matchup for Poland. And I think a lot of people are expecting Italy to make it out of this round still. And comparing their performances, really, you could call this to be a fairly close match. But then again, the map pool is different too from last week. It's a little bit harder. And things might change and shift a little bit according to that. So, well played against both teams. China being really strong there versus Italy, and they're going to be playing Hong Kong, which is going to be a match of like incredibly high caliber. Can't wait to see that this weekend too. But that's that for Italy. 6-3, well done still, and it's about in line from what you'd expect from that team in early stages. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Playing free against China. I mean, not a lot of other teams could do that. Not even teams that have qualified into this round too. So yeah. Moving on, we're going to be talking about 2 entirely whole different teams. This is going to be the North American match, which is the US of A versus Canada, which again came down to a 6-3 scoreline in favor of the USA. And yeah, we've already sort of stated the fact that Canada has become really good at playing tournaments. America, the USA, not being like the strongest setup they've ever had in CWC due to the omission of Rosselt. He didn't want to play this year, which is completely fine. But they still have a fairly alright roster, still a very strong roster in terms of like USA rosters. And that's the reason why they were able to win against Canada as well, which is not somebody that a lot of people would call like a top 5 team this year, but more like a definitely like top 16 to top 8 range, more or less, I would reckon. Pretty nice match again. You might want to take us through that exactly, because I'm not. Did you commentate that match, or am I going insane?
Did not, but I did watch it though. I did watch it.
Right.
Our thoughts on that one are Canada has really been improving the past year. They had already had quite a couple of good players last year. I believe their roster is practically the same, but just all players have just been playing a lot of tournaments. We've seen them around in the communities a lot lately, and I do feel as well that the atmosphere in the Canadian catch team is definitely something that makes them more outstanding than any other team. They play other games together as well. I feel like they play League of Legends and all that kind of stuff.
Of course you would know.
Of course I would know about League of Legends. No, either way, they're more of a friend group than actually a catch Canadian team, I would call it. It's a little, I don't know what to call it, but they just get along really well, and that shows on how they play together in a tournament match. Then again, I had a really tough matchup as well this year. USA, obviously, top 3 finisher multiple times already in the past few years, but definitely this year I feel like I'm a little worried about the scaling of the USA team. I've seen their captain Sekre tell us a lot that they're still expecting to get top 3 this year, but I'm not too sure if that's actually going to be happening. Something I wanted to know as well is that Canada beat USA on hidden, and I was like, USA is probably the strongest hidden team on the earth, definitely last year. But with the loss of Rosselt and Sekre having to step in on hidden, I'm not too sure if that's going to it being the strong suit in the upcoming rounds. There are 7 hidden, for example, in a Grand Finals map. I'm not too sure Sekre can play. I do know Lexi and Zach can, but Sekre perhaps not. So I'm a little worried about scaling of USA. Then again, they beat Canada. They had a relatively clean match, let's just put it that way. And they're in the winners quarterfinals. There's nothing more they can wish for, right? Canada, sadly, getting a really tough opponent, but dropping down the loser bracket. And once again, getting a really tough opponent again. They're facing off against Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken, in the quarterfinals. So it's going to be a tough task, but I do have faith in this Canadian team. They're looking really solid this year. The atmosphere is decent, and they have all mods covered as well. Beating USA on Hidden, for example, is definitely something you can write home about, right?
Yeah, it's not bad, especially, well, the thing with USA Hidden, it's always been a little funky in the sense that Zach can't really do, like, those super fast maps that sometimes get put into Hidden. Like, sometimes you kind of just get regular maps in the Hidden bracket, too, which are things that Sekre can play really well, but Zach, on the other hand, can't really do that incredibly well. Whereas Zach is more of that AR -4 guy, you know, who plays those super incredibly old, super slow maps incredibly well. Lexi can do both, but Sekre, on the other hand, I wouldn't call him like the best player for those kind of for that kind of atmosphere in Hidden. Even though, like, anything else in Hidden, he can do quite all right. He's just a really solid all-round player, all-round performer as well. And they don't really have a feel for that that second fill they used to have, which is Russell, which could also do both quite well. Not quite on the same level as Lexi, but still quite all right. They're gonna have to deal with those with Colin and Kitsetsu Notori on the roster, which I don't think will have the same amount of power in total for Hidden. And I believe that same translates to other brackets such as Double Time and Hard Rock in the very late stages as well, where they will be missing out on some of that nice, juicy Russell performance too. So you might be right on the scaling part there, especially on like anything that is modded, I would say. Like Hard Rock, Double Time, and Hidden are all a little bit weaker for them towards the later stages. But for now, they're still performing quite on the same level as they always have. And that goes to show in beating Canada. So well played to them once again. And yeah, Canada having to go through that losers bracket, pretty annoying place to start off from, especially for a team that might not be like considered like top 8 of the tournament compared to some of these other teams that we're seeing. But they might just do it. We never know. They have surprised me plenty already in group stage, and they might just surprise us plenty again in the upcoming stages. So I'm still looking forward to it, if anything. Yeah, them playing versus Taiwan this week. And so I think that's a very fair match and still very fun and interesting to experience.
Yeah, definitely. I suggest we go on to the next match. We already dangled it out a little bit. France versus Taiwan. Most likely, actually, definitely the most hype match of this weekend. Not because the two teams were considered to be quite close in skill. Actually, they're relatively close, but just because of the fact that it went through a tiebreaker scenario. And to add to that, there were 2 maps where the score difference were 92 points and 120 points. So that was a single droplet or like 2 droplets at the very most. Really close match between both teams. Start off, I feel like this France roster is definitely improved from last year. They have gotten Titoba's back. I believe Natsuko is making his debut as well in CWC. And that's definitely showing, especially in that tiebreaker performance, both of them holding combo above 200,000, definitely out comboing the Taiwanese side. But overall, both teams were neck and neck. Taiwan definitely improving as well. The Dodoabi played for the very first time this year as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it's good to see Dodoabi back. Definitely a really good, solid player. Only one missing that tiebreaker as well. Solid performance from them. Both teams, I mean, it was just a coin toss at the end, right? And France, luckily, they managed to win that tiebreaker so they can stay in that winner bracket, because obviously that winner bracket is so much preferred over that loser bracket. You basically get a second chance if you mess up one match, right? Taiwan, sadly, in that loser bracket, facing off against Canada this weekend. Relatively tough matchup, but same goes for France, right? They're facing off the United States in the quarterfinals. Also, relatively harsh for both teams. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Conrad?
As for France, well, firstly, I kind of want to give my opinion on like France-Taiwan too, but like 6-5.
That's what I meant, actually. My apologies.
I caught a wind of that already, so I did it anyway. But it's always been some of the most exciting matches in the entirety of CWC history. I don't know what it is between France and Taiwan. I just can't understand why their skill level is like pretty much exactly the same every year. But it always seems to be the case, and they always have come out with like some of the most amazing matches for us to view. Again this year, they did it in 2018. I'm pretty sure they did it like in between 2018 and 2021 sometimes as well. And yeah, great match. I actually was not able to watch this one, but I heard stories that I saw my Twitter blow up like so many messages talking about like, whoa, this match is so good. This is the best matches of the weekend. And I fully believe that when you have score differences as 92 and 120 points, like that happens sometimes, but twice in the same game, nah, that barely or maybe never has happened before. Like not this close anyway. So that's great to see. Solid performance for both teams. I wouldn't call them like the top echelon teams for this year either, but again, this 6-5 scoreline mostly came down to the fact that their skill levels is so very similar, and because of that, they can entertain us mostly like a lot, and they hopefully will for the remainder of the tournament. As for the upcoming matches, yeah, France playing against USA, which honestly, this is like the match between France and USA where I believe France actually might have a shot at it, which has never really been the case historically. I would have always preferred USA over France. I think I still will in this matchup, but I might be proven wrong is what I'm declaring here. And as for Taiwan, they're playing Canada again. Not maybe considered like some of the super best in this tournament, but that could be a fairly close game too. And Taiwan is known for choking quite a lot as well in these tournaments and some of these sticky scenarios. So that might happen against Canada, which seems to be more confident in their footing at the moment. But we'll talk more about that in a sec. We're going to go on to Australia versus South Korea, considering the time here. Which was a clean sweep for South Korea. I think this is the only clean sweep that I called for this round, and it did indeed happen. So I'm the best predictor ever, firstly. And secondly, honestly, not all that Australia could have done in this match versus South Korea, considering the score lines that South Korea was able to pull off, as they always have, basically. Very few misses on their end, and Australia performing kind of like Australia. You would expect Australia to perform. And yeah, I want to, again, it's not even South Korea's like very best team that they've ever been able to put together, but it's still more than plenty to beat almost every single team in the tournament. And it goes to show with something like a clean sweep against an Australia, which honestly is quite strong compared to some of the other years that they've played. I was a bit skeptical considering that they were missing out on some players, but they are still performing like absolutely formidably. So well done to them. And unfortunately, the South Korea matchup, just you can't really ever pull it off, can you?
No, not at all. I mean, any single team that has to face South Korea in a round of 16 or even a group stage scenario is going to suffer, and that is shown in this matchup as well. I feel like Australia is mostly happy that they made it out of that group stage. They know they're not the strongest team in the tournament by now. They're still looking at difficult matchups for the loose bracket as well. Feel like it's just happy to be here right now. Definitely still putting on a decent performance, but obviously drawing South Korea in a round of 16 scenario, you're not going to have a lot of chances to beat them, and that is shown. South Korea played relatively well, but I feel like there's more potential in this team. They scale more. They're just, I wouldn't call it struggling on these easier pools because they're not struggling whatsoever, but there are other teams that are performing better than they are currently on these easier pools, right? Thinking of Hong Kong, thinking of even, I believe Poland even played better, I'm not too certain. China probably did as well. Like, those teams played a little better than South Korea, but then again, they did the job. They won 6-0, nothing more that you can wish for, right? Australia had a little weakness on Hidden, and I believe that's going to be exploited this weekend as well. It kind of showed that they struggled a lot with Hidden, score difference above 200,000 points, and South Korea wasn't even capable of seeing those Hidden maps, so just Australia not really feeling it on Hidden, I do believe. South Korea being the tournament favorites, they're still the tournament favorites for me, but I would put Hong Kong quite close to them, perhaps China. Those three are my personal favorites for that top three finish, but South Korea has so much scaling. I believe it's his debut of Abstract. I mean, this guy has been playing this game for so long. He's the #1 score farmer as of like the day before yesterday, and he's playing in CWC. He's just incredibly talented, incredibly. He has so many like skill sets that other players lack because of just how much playtime he has in this game, and that is definitely going to be showing in those later rounds. Like a Convert AR9 DT, put Abstract on it, right? He's going to full combo, most likely. He's going to carry there. So the scaling on South Korea is really, really high this year. And I mean, if a team is trying, if a team is wanting to win points against South Korea, it has to be done in these early rounds. In a quarterfinal, I believe you can take 3 or 4 points of a South Korea in a quarterfinal because they're going to be choking, kind of. Not even, I wouldn't call it choking, but missing here and there. Whilst on a harder map, they're just going to be outscaling you, definitely. So if you want to have a chance at this point, you have to beat them in early rounds. I mean, they're looking at a match versus Chile. I think Chile is the ideal candidate for beating this team in an early round. Whilst Australia wasn't really the proper candidate for that. Either way, GG will play to both teams. Australia definitely being stronger than past couple of years, but there's just in that little circle of teams like a Finland, a Australia, a Netherlands. I would even put Mexico in there, Belgium perhaps. Teams are just, they can get in that knockout stage, but they just miss that touch to be able to make an upset or win a couple of maps in such a scenario, and they just need that little bit more of power or more skill on different mob brackets to get there to be winning a couple of points against other teams, I feel like.
Yeah, perfectly explained by you there, indeed. And Australia is definitely more of a team that's on our pedestal, like our mortal pedestal still. Whereas something like a South Korea, they will be doing better in later stages. They have a very, very solid base, and they have very nice specialists like Abstract and like Draystar for those very peculiar maps. So they'll come in handy sometime. And yeah, not a lot of things that Australia could have done. So GG, well played. As we move into Germany versus Chile, yeah, this was a fun match. Germany started off with a 2-0 lead, and then Chile, out of the blue, just decided to, turn things around a little bit, up it up a little notch, and get that match 6-2 into their favor in the end. Very solidly played by them. Looking at the total miscounts that they have, it's not the same as like a Hong Kong level, but it's very close to that level too. Lots of FCs. Most of these maps, the other teams FC'd, such as Selkup, the Overdose, the Hard Rock Overdose, which nobody is able to pronounce because that word doesn't make any sense. They FC'd that, obviously. So did Germany, actually. So that was like one of their points they actually lost on. But anything else, well done by them, indeed. And Germany seemed to struggle a little bit in some of these maps. Vinci especially not looking like his strongest this weekend. Last weekend, I should be saying. And that leads to Chile beating you, obviously. They're still a very strong team, and they have been top 3 in the past. It might sound kind of redundant to say this by now because it's been a little while, and the last time they were able to top 3 was 2019, which is 2 years ago. Admittedly, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's still quite a lot of time. But honestly, it's still mostly the same roster too. So the skill that they've accumulated throughout the years in tournament play and their experience all comes in and still remains as a handy asset for them. So in that sense, very nice for Chile to beat Germany, which never has been the very strongest tournament team in CWC. Finding the footing after a bit of a choke up at the start of the game, and then just plowing through. So very nicely done by them.
Yeah, definitely. Germany just, I mean, a lot of people were surprised about them winning those first 2 points, right? Chile seemed a little bit off. Germany was really performing quite well. But then as soon as Chile realized what was going on, they just put their foot on the gas and they just never let go. And that explains the 6-2 scoreline in favor of Chile. I feel like most people expected Chile to win this one. Germany has been, I wouldn't call it choking, perhaps a little, but they've just not really been feeling comfortable in like a knockout stage after groups in CWC lately, the past couple of years. Looking back at last year, they lost against Mexico, then they beat Belgium 6-0, but Belgium was just poor at that point. And then I believe they lost against Indonesia 6-1 as well. So just always a very same happening. Not a lot to be said about both of those teams. I feel like the addition of Note Kiroi definitely helping Germany this year. And I feel like we can continue on with the next match, right? Finland versus Philippines.
I had a
because
feeling we had
think
somebody joining us there for a little second, but seems not.
my brother's birthday today, and he came to show me something.
Oh,
but,
happy birthday to him then, and everybody should be wishing Quinn's brother a happy birthday. Also important, such as important as the match is almost. So we're going to continue with Finland versus the Philippines. 6-2 scoreline in favor of the Philippines. So well done by them for beating Finland. Sadly, my favorite team not doing as well as I hoped to. They've got my banner, they've got my money, so I got to support them as much as I possibly can. Sadly, didn't win there. Honestly, not the best gameplay from either team, I would say, compared to some of the other matches, at least. I mean, this would have been exceptional gameplay in 2018, but at the moment, the bar has been set so incredibly high due to some other teams such as Hong Kong that this looks fairly unimpressive in comparison to what we are seeing in some of these other matches. And yeah, honestly, Finland just looking kind of like a low-end, high-seeded team such as Belgium, Australia, performing a little bit worse than Australia even, I would say. And because of that, Philippines, even if they weren't like performing at the very best of the stage, they're still gonna take it with relative ease. Not like a blowout such as we saw with South Korea, but like relative ease compared to what would have happened if they played a different team, such as, for example, Chile, which would have been a lot more exciting and a lot harder for them to do. So well played by them. Not a lot to talk about in this sense. Maybe you have more to add to that to the analysis, because I haven't really looked into the match too much, but that's just kind of what I see in the multiplayer.
Yeah, I'm just happy for the Philippines getting a proper draw this year. Looking at last year, facing of, I believe United States in round of 16 and Chile right off. Those two teams got like third and fifth in the tournament. I mean, Philippines' their tournament was right like over basically as soon as they saw that draw, right? But this year they're in a better draw. But I agree with you. I feel like this Philippines team has more to it than they showed last weekend. Especially Roy, though, if you compare it to his performance from like last year, round of 16 against the United States, he has seen like 9 of 11 maps that match, and this match he was just not feeling it very much. But then again, Finland was just not on the same level as the Philippines. They beat Philippines twice in double time though, so perhaps something to worry about for the Philippines. But overall, Bunray, Roydo, like the two of them, if they're in form, that's a really scary team. They have like Kielzu to fill in double time, perhaps Hartog for Kayamin and Rin. Rusty, their new addition for Nomad, but he's still quite inexperienced. Definitely on those harder pools, I feel like he's going to be struggling a little more compared to other players like Sir Waffle for Italy, even though he's debuting as well. But Rusty's just a little more inexperienced, I feel like. But definitely, Philippines did the job, but I feel like there's way more into this team than they've shown last weekend. Perhaps that was their reasoning. They just didn't want to show what they were capable of. I saw them play that third group stage match against Malaysia, and they were just switching up rosters, having... I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Kielzu, Rusty, and then Bunray, so Roydo not even playing maps. If Roydo's not playing a map for the Philippines, you know they're testing things out, because Roydo is just all around. He can play everything. He can play Air 9 DT and then Air 7 hidden right off. That's just how Roydo is. But I agree with you, Khan. I feel like there's more to it, but definitely they're in the winners brackets, quarterfinals. They're already outdid the performance from last year, so I believe they're feeling well. They're looking at couldn't call it easy, but looking at the other quarterfinal matchups, they definitely probably drew the easiest team out of those 8 teams. And again, easy in this case, little wouldn't call easy whatsoever.
Yeah, it's all
still
relative,
a huge mountain against.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's relative.
We're not dissing anybody.
But then again,
I'm a Finland supporter, so I'm not dissing my own team. So in that sense, yeah, they were able to experiment a little, maybe, and they were perhaps lucky in the sense that they drew Finland. But this time they won't be as lucky. So as they continue the journey into the winners bracket, it's going to get harder every single time. And they're going to have to find their footing. Hopefully, Royder will be able to be the one-punch man type of archetype, as he's always been. Which, honestly, Royder, I would call him like a top 5 tournament player in general, too. If he has his day and he's playing well, he's just really solid. So it should go better from them from here on out. They should have a larger shot at things than from what I showed in this round, so it's not like too telling. As for Finland, they might struggle quite a lot in the losers bracket, considering what they're up against in the coming few rounds too. So seeing that pan out might be a little painful for all the Finnish fans. We will have to wait and see, because they'll be playing against Indonesia, which played against Russia last weekend. We'll be getting to those predictions after this one, as this is their final match of last weekend. We're going to go over the Indonesia versus Russia match, where Russia won 6-3. Again, a solid scoreline, fun scoreline to view and stream. And this is the one match where my prediction was just absolutely off, like just way off. Doesn't really happen too often for my own predictions, I would say, but I expected Indonesia to beat Russia quite handily. And if Russia played well or Indonesia played bad, I would have expected a tiebreaker that could go either way, but not a 6-3 win from Russia anyway. So it seems that this old school predicting of mine is starting to become aged at this point. Like, Indonesia not being like a top 3 preferred team anymore is still like kind of brain breaking to me. But it's all thanks to Russia being really good this year and having improved a lot in the last 2 years, especially in their catch careers. Not the actually quite a good match too. Not like the most hyper epic plays that I've seen in this round. There's definitely like a fair amounts of misses on every map that is not like considered to be uber easy. But then again, Russia's performance definitely something that is capable of performing all right in winners bracket too. So beating Indonesia early on, I would still consider a strong feat, right? Considering the fact that they've beaten Poland as the top seed in their groups, and then continue on versus a ex-top 3 tournament performer such as Indonesia quite handily like this, looking fairly alright for them. I wouldn't call this match to be the highest of level of matches that we've seen in this weekend, but still like pretty much what you'd expect if you're not me and you're very bad at predicting these kind of things. Pretty much in line with what you would expect. And Indonesia, sadly, like not performing quite what I expect them to perform like this tournament so far.
Definitely perfect analysis. I do not want to brag, but I actually had Russia beating Indonesia 6-3. Now we have that out of the way. All right, then. There we go. No, Russia only had 3 players this weekend. They only had Kids and Ivy, they only had Insomnia, and they only had Nelly. The 3 of them played every single mob bracket, and they beat Indonesia. They beat Indonesia on Hidden. Russia, not really a hidden team, right? But they beat Indonesia on Hidden. Perhaps Indonesia choking just a little left and right, but Russia definitely stepping up, and they missed Memoriola this weekend. They missed Vaga. I'm not too sure what their 6th, but I believe Kastelgam is their 6th player. They missed those 3 because Memoriola was in the hospital, I believe. So wishing him the best of recovery, hoping he can make a return this weekend. Definitely. Yep. But Russia, just a 3-man team that just beat Indonesia 6-3. Really? I would call it an upset, actually. It is an upset. Not a lot of people expected it to go this way. Definitely Indonesia, this team looking really strong, right? Netamara making his debut, the 5th ranked player in the world, is on this team for the very first time ever, I believe. And then again, they just weren't able to get those points. Kitsunaivi, for example, I feel like he's being slept on a little. He's not the highest ranked player, not the most well-known player, but he's definitely been showing up for this Russian team, as well as last year. Was there last year as well, helping Russia to get out of that group stage as a low seed as well. So definitely a lot of improvement in this Russian team. I have faith in them against this Philippines team. I feel like this one could go to a tiebreaker. Perhaps Russia even beating Philippines. A really nice performance from them. Really a great see. Indonesia, on the other hand, I don't know, man. It feels a little lost against Hong Kong 5-1, but Hong Kong obviously is super strong, so we could have just blamed it on Hong Kong being super strong. But now we're losing to Russia 6-3. It's not really looking all too bright for Indonesia currently. They have a matchup against Finland this weekend to get their focus back on probably the easiest opponent out of everyone. Perhaps Australia at level as well. Not trying to diss anyone whatsoever. Just seeing at the seeding as well, Finland being the only low seed, so probably the easiest opponent for Indonesia. So have some time to catch the breath again, try to You definitely have to win this match, though. Like, if Finland beats Indonesia, that's a huge upset, and Indonesia, their tournament is over because they're in that loser bracket. But still, like, they have a little moment to catch your breath again, try to get that focus back on the track, because as soon as if they potentially beat Finland, there's a lot of strong teams waiting for them, and they're in that loser bracket. So as well as Italy, like the same story, trying to get in the top 3 starting from the loser bracket is really, really tough, definitely with the competition this year. So Indonesia should have probably won this match if they wanted to get to that top 3. I feel like they're not going to have an easy time whatsoever.
Yeah, I might call it impossible at this point for Indonesia even, but we're going to get into that discussion actually right now, because that was the last match. We're going to go over the matches that will happen in this quarterfinals, and then from that point onward, we might be able to somewhat predict the course that each team is going to be able to take for the rest of the tournament. So we're just going to go over the chronological order this time around. So the matches are going to be played this Saturday and this Sunday. We're going to go over the match first that starts in literally 30 minutes, which is Hong Kong versus China. I'm going to have to go over this a little quick. So my quick analysis on this one, this might be a historic match in CWC history, and that is not something you should take lightly, because you saw the performance that they were able to pull off in round of 16. This time round, Hong Kong is looking like it's finally bloomed into its perfection, and China is looking as strong as ever too. And this could go either way. And that's what's so weird for me to say, because I don't know who to call in this match. I truly do not know. So if Hong Kong performs as well as they did last weekend, and it's not a fluke, I'm expecting a tiebreaker. And honestly, it might go towards Hong Kong. So I will call it a 6-5. Otherwise, it's going to be China's game if it was a fluke. But man, they're doing great.
I believe I picked a 6-3 in favor of Hong Kong. I'm on the Hong Kong hype train. I feel like this pool is still easy enough to like have that same consistency we've always seen from this Hong Kong team during the entire tournament. So I feel like this is Hong Kong's moment to shine. If they beat China now, they're basically on the perfect trajectory for a top 3 finish. They need to win this one to finally get that top 3, because I believe Hong Kong has never finished that top 3, even though their team is so incredibly strong. So this year is the year, I feel like.
Yeah, this match is very essential. This is very essential to either team. Then moving on, we go to Finland versus Indonesia. That's a losers bracket match. Going to be played after this one. This might be close because of Indonesia not performing quite to the pedestal that they've always have, in my opinion. And Finland just performing like a regular high seed, honestly, at this point. The trajectory of these two teams is kind of close at this point. I'm still going to put my belief into Indonesia, though, despite the fact that they've honestly put out unexpectedly, I wouldn't want to call it disappointing, but definitely not like gameplay that I would have expected from them so far. Just a little below par, which I still want to believe in them. Other than that, what they've performed like so far, so I will still say that they're going to take the match 6-3. But I might be entirely wrong, and Indonesia might have to like completely recalculate what they want to do from now on.
Yeah, definitely on the same track as you, Conrad. I feel like this one should go to Indonesia, but definitely the performance from last week making us doubt a little. Finland have a tough task ahead of them, but there is a potential, definitely. They're not against, say, South Korea, they're not against, say, Italy, they're not against, say, even Germany or something. They drew Indonesia, and I feel like this might be their shot this year, but definitely huge mountain to climb. I'm also on the Indonesian side, so I think a 6-2 scoreline, perhaps 6-1. It should be, on paper, definitely Indonesia's win, but in a tournament match, anything can happen, right?
Sounds very charming, and it's true, though. You're very correct. Next up, another losers bracket match, Poland versus Italy. So this one is actually on a bit of a higher level than something like Finland, Indonesia. Again, though, Italy was really good last week as well. They were playing China, but they were still really good. And Poland, on the other hand, they were also really good. But their morale might be really low at this point due to the 6-0 loss that they had compared to what Italy had to deal with, which was 6-3. Considering that, I'm not entirely sure how many people of either roster or online. If Poland were to perform as well as last week, which I doubt will happen, it could be close. But I'm calling the Italy win here with a scoreline of like 6-2, honestly, if it goes as I would normally expect it to go.
Yeah, I feel like everyone that's doing pick'ems should definitely give Poland 2 points because there's 2 hidden maps, and Italy winning a hidden map is seeming unlikely, definitely in the higher stage. So a 62 scoreline seems alright. I'm definitely going to give Poland like a little more credit because of their performance from last weekend. If they have all players available, right? If everyone's playing today or tomorrow, I'm not too sure. I believe the map's today. If everyone's playing today, I can see Poland winning this one. I believe I put it at 6-3 for Italy because Italy is also so incredibly strong, right? And these pools are getting harder, and that's more Italy's cup of tea. The harder the pool, the better, I feel like, for them. Definitely against a team like Poland, I feel like Poland can beat Italy relatively easily on a group stage map pool just because Poland seems to be more consistent on easier maps. But as soon as there's that scaling factor coming in, Italy outscales Poland massively. Right away, Poland's just hoping all of their players are on today, and then we can see a really hype match, I do feel like.
Yeah, definitely wishing those guys today luck on Saturday. We're going to look at the Sunday matches now. Coming up first, it's going to be South Korea and Chile at 2 a.m. UTC. South Korea, Chile. So many people called this to be like a game that's going to be like incredibly close as well, just like Hong Kong, China, like we just said. Most people are talking about this one actually. It's a winners bracket match once again, so neither team is going to get eliminated. Am I buying into the Chile hype train? Maybe, maybe, but I'm not entirely sure yet, especially considering the map was just a tad bit harder than last week too. And South Korea, honestly, is still looking great. It might be a great game though, considering how they've performed in the past in early stages. From like 2017 onwards, Chile was always like very good. I'm still gonna go into South Korea here. Might just be a little bit olden based bias at this point in terms of like how I think South Korea will perform. But I'm thinking South Korea will take it 6-4. But I'm thinking Chile will definitely offer a good fight.
I believe Chile and South Korea faced off each other last year as well in the round of 16, and I believe that went to 6-4 for South Korea. But that was an easier map pool, right? The map pools this year are harder compared to the ones from last year. Plus, this is a quarterfinals match, and that was a round of 16 match. So harder map pool, definitely would give it more credit to South Korea. A South Korea team, not the same as last year, but still having that core raw skill as they always have, right? I'm giving it to South Korea as well. I believe most people are predicting South Korea, but this one is like a little. I already talked about it previous on. Like, this is the moment for Chile to shine, right? They're in the toughest matchup of all teams, most likely against the toughest team of all teams, right? But they can do this. I feel like there is a shot for Chile to beat South Korea tomorrow. Then, but then again, I'm not too sure how it's going to go. I definitely seeing their performance against Germany in those earlier maps seeming a little shaky, I would call it. So. South Korea definitely feeling more confident. I'm also going for South Korea myself, but there is a shot for Chile, definitely.
Again, a bit of a coin flip here, so it might go either way. We don't know yet, but it's going to be a close one. Then we have Canada versus Taiwan after that one. Not entirely sure what to call on this one too. Again, this weekend's matches are like more exciting than last weekend, I would say. In terms of how close the teams are relative to each other in terms of skill level. But I think that Taiwan is not really on a great streak at the moment. I believe Canada is going to be able to abuse that and win the match after all. I think it might be something like a 6-3 scoreline, considering Taiwan might be able to take up a few early points, but then might struggle a little more, especially considering that they have to play in the morning as well. So, and Canada is playing in the evening, which tends to be nicer to play at. So I'm saying Canada 6-3.
Yeah, that's definitely a point we don't really talk about when these teams have to play in their day. So that's a really valid point you make. I personally am on the Taiwanese side. I feel like the team of XXZ, Dodowavy, Sanami, Bipu, all those players seem really solid. Have been playing tournaments for a really long time, except for XXZ. He's been like only the past year or so, but then again, he's really performing as well. And this one is probably one of the closest matches this weekend. I think this is just definitely the closest match. Both teams, it can go either way. It can be a 6-0 for some team, but it can go 6-5. It's really hard to predict how these teams will perform in this one. Taiwan, though, has been in that semi-final for the past 5 years, and I'm quite sure they're going to get there this year as well. So they have to get past Canada and so for that 6-year semi-final streak. So I'm on the Taiwanese side. I believe I put it at 6-4, 6-3 or something, but either way, definitely a coin toss this one. We can both agree on that one, right?
These matches need to stop being so close. It's so hard to call, and we barely have any time left. So let's move on to Australia, Germany. we can say for all next 3 matches, again, they're really close to call, so I'm not going to repeat that every single time. But Germany, Australia. Germany not really performing like incredibly well so far, which leads me to believe that Australia might have a shot at it, even though on paper, Germany should be doing quite a bit better than Australia. I think that Germany is very easily and very handily going to take all those hidden picks, though, and Australia is going to have to answer most picks that Germany, well, Germany doesn't have to answer as much as Australia in that sense. Australia doesn't have like a bracket bracket that they shine on compared to Germany, which leads me to believe that Germany still will win this match with about a 64 scoreline. But considering their morale might be bad, that could go the other way too.
Yeah, nothing more to add from me. I believe Germany should have it, but there are definitely those nerves and all that kind of stuff in a tournament match. Could swing it the other way, but on paper, definitely Germany should be taking it, right?
Yeah, indeed. So it depends on their morale a lot. Then we have Philippines versus Russia. Again, Russia doing incredibly well so far in the tournament, completely exceeding my expectations for like 2 matches so far. And Philippines had a bit of a rough match last week, not doing too well against a country like Finland that they could have beaten 6-0. I'm going to jump onto that Russia hype train and believe that they are going to be the stronger team this time around. They probably will have a full team as well. And I believe that Philippines does not have their best year this year. I think Russia is going to be able to take this 6-4.
It depends on if Roydo shows up. If Roydo's there and he plays as well as he played in the group stage and as last year, then this one is going to be really close. But overall, I'm on the Russia hype train as well. I feel like their team is just really strong this year, and they can get into that winner semifinals. I do believe they can, yeah. Though I mean, it's definitely once again a close one, right? But I'm giving it to Russia as well, personally.
Alright, and then finally with the United States versus France, I got a bit of a notification in chat there from Secray that actually France already beat the United States in quarterfinals in 2019, so might want to correct that real quick as I'm still here. Mistakes do happen, my bad. So it can happen that France beats the United States, but I think right now at this stage of the tournament, even though it's quarterfinals again, coincidentally, I believe that the USA should be able to pull it off I think their firepower is still like enough to blow out a team like France in stages like this. I believe France might actually be stronger in later stages this year compared to earlier stages. It might be really close though. I believe the United States is going to struggle quite a bit against France, and again, it depends on whether the entire roster of the United States is there and whether the entire roster of France is there. Blah blah. Which, if all goes according to plan for both teams, I would say United States, just because of their solid tournament performance, not per se like their roster, is going to be able to take it 6-3.
Yeah, once again, I feel like the fact that we're choosing different teams, basically half these matches shows how close these ones are, because I chose France over USA in this one. Not too sure. France just seems really, really strong this year. I don't know. I feel like people are not sleeping on France, and I mean, France is known to be called chokeable, but they haven't really gotten up that level that other countries have been, right? European catch has been not really in the best shape the past couple of years, but this year, this French team seems so incredibly strong. So I'm on the French side, as well, combined with the fact that USA has 2 new players, the mapples are getting harder, they lost in that hidden versus Canada. Those are all little factors that make me go for France, but obviously France had a difficult match against Taiwan. So it's once again just pointless, right? It's just really hard to predict these ones, but I'm on the France team for this one.
Alrighty, so as you guys can see, we disagree on like 3 of these match outcomes. There's lots to view, so definitely stay tuned. We're gonna have to jump into that match like right now because we took a lot of time. It's already 1 p.m. UTC time, which means we're gonna get started with China, Hong Kong. Thank you guys for joining the pre-show, and thank you, Quentin, for hosting it with me here.
Very much, Conrad.
And we're going to hop into that match as soon as we possibly can. Don't forget to follow the channel, subscribe if you're feeling generous, and we can also buy a banner on the website, which supports your favorite of the 16 leftover teams. So you should go ahead, check that out. We're going to swap over to the game. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.